Yeah, let me give you a deep dive into how the models are going to work. So again, our quantum model is going to give us a forecast for the end of the month, for every single month. But it actually does much more than that. Nobody can actually pinpoint and forecast the end of the month. So it gives a nice range for what our models are thinking. It gives an 80% confidence interval. It tells us what that confidence interval looks like at different months. It tells us the probability of being higher than we are today at those different months. And so when we look at this projected, it's really the middle of a confidence range. It's not the actual number that it's going to be at. What do we do with that data? We simulate this 1,000 times. Sometimes it goes up higher and comes down and goes that way. Sometimes it goes straight across. Sometimes it goes down and then goes higher. Sometimes it goes higher and stays higher. So we simulate 1,000 possibilities. And when you simulate those 1,000 possibilities, you get some that are on the upper channel, some that are on the lower channel. And our goal is to deliver exactly what we said we would, which is beat the index and beat the index by at least 10 cents, right? That's what our goal is. So we're constantly getting the data, putting them in the forecast, running them through the simulation models. And how does it do that? Well, up here is our benchmark that we're trying to beat. 5% sales through April, 10% in May and June, 15% sales beyond that. We're thinking based on the forecast, what should our sales be? And we're constantly planning that all the way out to the end. So it's like a football team. We don't just think about what's the next best play to run. We're thinking about what the next 8 best plays to run are, and what does that mean for the next play, right? What does that mean for the next best play? So it's easy for me in our model to then say, okay, we have a difference here. We have a good forecast, but ranges. And if I do something, like let's say that I decide to sell a little bit more early than the index. I'll sell 10% there and I'll sell 15% in April. What does that mean? Now I've got a difference. Some of the times when I sell early, I'm going to do worse than the index because maybe corn went up, right? Let me put that at 5. Maybe corn went up. Some of the times that I sell early, corn might go down and I win. Now, if the forecast is what we think it's going to be in that confidence interval holds, by selling early, the math comes back and it tells me, well, you're only going to beat the benchmark 41% of the time, and what you promised, you're only going to be able to deliver 15% of the time. And actually, you're going to underperform the benchmark 31% of the time, right? Well, this is not a very good strategy at all. And I can keep playing with this and find good strategies. I can blend some of these numbers together to have an index, a blended probability index to maximize my probability of beating by 10 cents and minimize my probability of losing by more than 10 cents. Certainly don't want to do that. So we can blend all that out and we can just keep playing with this. But since we have a computer, we can let the computer do it. And we can say, hey, computer, optimize all this. Figure it all out for us. And when I do that, let me just do the optimization. You'll see how that works. It kind of happens all in the background. So let's go here and come back. So there we go. The optimization happened. It came back and said, well, here's your strategy. Don't do what, well, here's the exact strategy. You played with every single month and kept playing with them back and forth, and said the best thing I got is 10-5-0, 20-5-0, 25-5, 25. And if we do that and run it through our model, 97% of the time, if our model is correct, right, and with the confidence that it has, we do beat the benchmark. 62% of the time, we deliver more than 10 cents, right, a 10-cent win. Only 3% of the time do we lose to the benchmark. Here's what that looks like. What that looks like is we're going to get a little oversold in February and March, get more oversold in May and June, get a little undersold in July, undersold in September. And then everything comes back to 100% at the end. And that's how that strategy is what we need to do. However, we use this to tell you what to do the next month in February, right? That's what we're going to do because new data is going to come in. New data is going to refine these forecasts, close the confidence intervals as they refine, and then we're going to change this. It's just like we run the best play, knowing what the 8 plays are, but then something changes. We only make 4 yards on the play, or we lose 2 yards, or we make 8 yards on the play. Well, clearly, we're going to change the next plays. But we always want to be thinking, what's the next 8 plays? So we sell 10%. Right now, the current recommendation when we get to the end of February is to sell 10% if this model works. But we'll see where the model is at the end of February and then keep simulating all this out. And in that way, we're always figuring out, and we've always got a plan for what to do going all the way out to the end of the year. All right? And that's how we decide things. The data drives the forecast. The forecasts drive the recommendations, right? So it's all data driven. Data drives the forecast. The data coming out of the forecasts drive the recommendations.